What terrifies people the most is not anger, it's not shouting, it's not even rejection. What truly terrifies them is silence. Because silence is mysterious, silence is unpredictable, silence forces them to face themselves without distraction. And when the person they thought they controlled suddenly goes quiet, suddenly stops explaining, stops chasing, stops giving them power, that silence becomes their nightmare. They thought you'd beg, they thought you'd fight, they thought you'd break without them. But instead, you did the one thing they never expected. You vanished into strength. You gave them nothing. No calls, no texts, no explanations, just silence. And that silence is louder than 1,000 words. Every day, they replay what they said. Every night, they wonder if you're gone for good. They question themselves, doubt themselves, fear what your silence means. The confidence they once wore like armor begins to crack. Their pride turns into panic. Because the truth hits them hard, you don't need them anymore. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, and that is what your silence proves." You are no longer their puppet. You are no longer their victim. You are in control of yourself, and that control terrifies them more than anything else. This video is your blueprint. I'm going to show you how to use silence not as weakness, but as absolute power. How to make your quiet presence louder than their noise. How to flip the power dynamic so completely that they no longer know where they stand. But first, I want you to drop this in the comments right now. My silence is my power. My quiet is their fear. Number 1, silence breaks their illusion of control. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself, and nothing proves mastery more than silence." Understand this: when you react, they win. When you defend, they win. When you argue, they win. Because every word you give them is proof that they still have influence over you. But when you choose silence, you shatter their illusion of control. They thought they had you mapped out. They thought they knew your every reaction. They expected anger. They expected weakness. They expected you to come crawling back. But instead, you gave them nothing. No words, no reactions, just calm, unshakable silence. And that silence is a storm in their mind. They don't know if you've moved on. They don't know if you're planning something. They don't know if they'll ever hear from you again. And that uncertainty is torture, because silence forces them to sit alone with the truth, that they no longer control you, that you are not desperate, that you are untouchable. This is why silence is not retreat. It's a declaration of strength. It's you saying, "I no longer dance to your tune." Your quiet becomes a mirror, forcing them to see their own weakness, their own mistakes, their own fragility. And that mirror terrifies them. The next time they try to bait you with games, manipulation, or emotional hooks, pause. Do nothing. Let them choke on their own noise. Hold your silence like a sword. Because the longer you stay quiet, the faster their confidence collapses. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence destroys their illusion of control. Number 2, silence turns their confidence into doubt. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what your silence does. It forces their imagination to turn against them. When you're gone, when you don't explain, when you don't give them access to your mind, their confidence begins to collapse. The person who once thought they had complete control over you suddenly lies awake at night, wondering what your silence means. Did you move on? Did you outgrow them? Did you finally realize you deserve better? Every possible answer terrifies them because every answer proves one truth: you no longer need them. Understand this. People are not afraid of what they know. They're afraid of what they don't know, and your silence feeds that fear. It leaves them without closure, without certainty, without the comfort of predictability. They begin to second-guess their choices, replay the last words spoken, and question their own worth. Their pride that once looked unshakable becomes fragile. Their confidence that once looked unbreakable turns into doubt. And all of this happens not because you fought, not because you explained, but because you refused to give them anything at all. This is why silence is not weakness. It's strategy. It's not avoidance. It's dominance. By withdrawing, you create a space that forces them to confront what they tried to bury. And in that space, their arrogance withers. Your absence becomes the loudest presence in their life, the silence they cannot escape. The next time you're tempted to break silence just to clear things up, stop. Remember, clarity is their relief. Mystery is their fear. Do not feed them comfort. Let doubt grow inside them. The less you reveal, the more they question themselves. Number 3. Silence shows you're not controlled. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, and nothing proves this truth more than your silence." When you refuse to react, when you do not run back, when you don't let them drag you into their games, you send the strongest message possible. I control myself. You control nothing. Think about it. They expected you to break. They counted on your weakness. They assumed your emotions would make you chase, explain, or beg. That's how they kept their power, by feeding off your reactions. But when you stop reacting, their entire strategy collapses. Suddenly, they have no grip on you. They can't push your buttons because you've decided there are no buttons left to push. You rise above the chaos, and in doing so, you show them you are not a puppet to their strings. This is the essence of self-mastery. Dependence is weakness, but control is freedom. And your silence is living proof that you don't need their validation, their attention, or their approval. You stand whole without them. You don't just say you're strong, you show it. And that truth terrifies them more than anything, because deep down, they expected to see you crawl. Instead, you rise. Each time you feel that burning urge to reach out, pause and redirect that energy. Channel it into something that builds you. Read, train, create, grow. Every hour you spend on yourself is another brick in the fortress of your independence. Let your silence prove that your life does not orbit around them. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am in control, not them. Number 4. Silence builds respect. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Respect is not earned by begging, chasing, or proving yourself. It is earned by walking away with dignity. And nothing screams dignity louder than silence. When you stay quiet, when you refuse to argue or justify, you force them to see you in a different light. They may not admit it, but deep down, they respect the one who doesn't break. People never respect what they can predict. If they know you'll always come back, always explain, always bend, then your value in their eyes collapses. But when you withhold your words, when you stay composed and untouchable, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability commands respect. Suddenly, you're not the one chasing, you're the one holding the power, because silence is not weakness, it's discipline. They can't fight silence. They can fight words. They can twist explanations. They can argue against your pleas. But they can't fight what you don't give them. They're left with nothing but the echo of their own behavior. That's when respect begins to grow, not because you demanded it, but because you showed through action that you're not desperate for it. The next time you feel the itch to defend yourself, stop. Ask yourself, does this raise my value or lower it? If it lowers it, don't say it. If it makes you look like you're chasing, cut it off. Speak only when your words will add to your dignity. Let silence do the heavy lifting, and respect will follow. Number 5. Silence shifts the power dynamic. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Power doesn't belong to the one who speaks the loudest, or the one who demands attention. It belongs to the one who can control themselves. And when you go silent, you instantly shift the balance of power. Suddenly they're the one waiting, they're the one guessing, they're the one replaying every word, wondering why you haven't returned. Before they thought they had control. They thought you needed them. They thought you would fold. But your silence turns that illusion into fear. They lose grip because the script they depended on has changed. The very moment you refuse to react, you reclaim the control they once thought was theirs. Power is not about forcing someone. It's about showing you don't need them at all. That is what terrifies them. They start to question themselves. Did I lose them? Did I push too far? Why aren't they reaching out? Every unanswered text becomes a dagger of doubt. Every day you remain silent adds weight to their fear. You have flipped the dynamic, not by shouting, not by explaining, but by doing nothing at all. When their name crosses your mind and the urge to check on them rises, pause. Ask yourself, who is in control right now, me or my emotions? If it's your emotions, stay silent. If it's you, you'll know that silence is the most powerful move you can make. Power belongs to the calm, not the desperate. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence shifts the power to me. Number 6. Silence creates space for your rise. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, and nothing clears your mind, nothing strengthens your soul like silence." When you remove yourself from the noise, you create the very space that allows you to rise higher. Silence isn't just about making them feel your absence. It's about giving yourself the chance to rebuild, to breathe, to evolve into someone they no longer recognize. They expected you to chase. They expected you to come back weaker. But what they didn't expect was that your silence would turn into your training ground. While they sit stuck in regret, you're out there sharpening your mind, strengthening your body, and creating a life that doesn't need them in it. That is why silence is powerful. It's not just punishment for them, it's freedom for you. Every day you don't reach out is a day you reclaim energy that once belonged to someone who didn't value it. Every moment you stay silent is another step closer to clarity, self-respect, and peace. You start to see the truth. You were never losing them, they were losing you. And the more distance you create, the more you realize how strong you really are. They can't handle your absence because while they're still wondering about you, you're already growing beyond them. You're building a life that speaks so loud, your silence becomes the proof of your evolution. And when you rise in silence, you rise unshakable. Use the time you once gave away to them for yourself. Train your body, feed your mind, build your vision, replace reaching out with rising up. Every ounce of energy you give to yourself is another brick in the empire you're creating. Number 7. Silence forces them to face themselves. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." And when you go silent, you leave them alone with nothing but their own view of what happened. No explanations, no comfort, no reassurance, just them replaying every word they said, every choice they made, every mistake that pushed you away. Your silence is not just absence, it is a mirror. And in that mirror they see their own flaws, their own weakness, their own guilt. They thought your voice would soothe them. They thought your presence would rescue them, but instead, all they hear is silence. And that silence is torture, because it forces them to confront what they lost without distraction. Every unanswered message makes them question themselves. Every day you stay quiet makes them wonder if they were the problem. They can't escape it, because silence has a way of echoing louder than any words ever could. And here's the truth. Your silence doesn't just haunt them, it liberates you. It means you're no longer carrying the burden of explaining yourself, no longer wasting your energy trying to be understood. You've handed the responsibility back to them, where it belongs. While they wrestle with their own reflection, you're free. This is why they fear your absence, because it doesn't just make them miss you, it makes them face themselves. And that's the one thing most people spend their entire lives running from. The next time you feel tempted to break silence, remind yourself, their reflection is their punishment, not your responsibility. Let them sit with it. Let them face it. Stay silent and let their own thoughts do the work for you. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments right now. My silence is their mirror. My absence makes them face the truth. Number 8, your silence proves you value yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your silence is a declaration that you will not tolerate disrespect, half-hearted effort, or anyone taking your worth for granted. It proves to them, and more importantly, to yourself, that you have chosen yourself over their comfort, over their expectations, and over their attempts to control you. Every unanswered message, every moment you refuse to explain yourself, reinforces your self-respect. You are not running away from them. You are walking toward your own strength, independence, and inner peace. When you refuse to bend to their demands, they feel the shift. Their confidence, once unshakable, begins to falter because your absence signals that you are not dependent on their validation. They start to recognize the cost of losing you, and that realization carries more weight than any argument or explanation ever could. You don't need to prove anything with words. Your silence is louder than any declaration. Your absence also sets a standard, not just for them, but for yourself. It tells the world that your time, energy, and presence are valuable. You no longer allow others to dictate your emotional state or your worth. The power you reclaim is not temporary. It is permanent because it comes from self-mastery, self-respect, and emotional control. You are untouchable, not because they fear you, but because you have chosen yourself and no longer rely on their approval. Write down your personal standards and promises to yourself. Commit to never lowering your value for anyone who does not appreciate it. Let your silence reflect your strength and self-worth every single day. You've just discovered the unshakable force that silence can create. Every tip in this video, every moment of withheld words, every step back, every ounce of self-respect is a declaration that your power does not depend on anyone else. They thought your absence would break you. They thought your silence would be weakness. But you proved them wrong. You proved that your confidence, your self-worth, and your peace are untouchable because they come from within. Remember, Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That is your ultimate truth. You cannot control their thoughts, their regrets, or the way they respond, but you can control your actions, your choices, and your energy. Every day you choose silence over reaction, absence over chasing, and self-respect over approval, you reclaim more of your power. Every day you rise higher, unbothered from the expectations and manipulations of others. The greatest revenge, the deepest satisfaction, comes not from forcing them to see their mistakes, but from living a life that proves your value without words. You've turned their confidence into fear, their assumptions into doubt, and their expectations into the realization that they can no longer control you. You are no longer their option. You are your own standard. You are the one who sets the rules. Now, it's time to act. Carry this knowledge into your life. Practice your silence when it matters. Protect your energy. Build your inner strength. Let your absence speak louder than explanations ever could. And every time you feel the urge to return to what doesn't serve you, remember, you are not weak, you are unstoppable. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I am untouchable. My silence is my power. My worth is undeniable. If this video helped you see your strength, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Share this with someone who needs to reclaim their power. Remember, your peace, your self-respect, and your confidence are yours to protect, and nothing can take that away unless you allow it. Stand firm, stay silent, rise stronger.